writing my book, it allowed me to redefine movement. And movement, even if you Google it, movement is just a shift in posture or perspective. It it doesn't have to be exercise. It doesn't have to be skillful or talented. It is just, it's the heart beating. It's the, as We Are the Storm said, it's our lungs filling. It's the cells dividing in our body. That's happening for everybody in their own way, until we're no longer here in this physical. Not that long ago, it allowed me to redefine dance. I was like, if this skill set, this talent, this entertainment piece isn't fitting for everybody, how can I break down the definition of dance? And actually, it was a Britannica.com definition. I was shocked that dance is just rhythmic movement of the body that expresses a thought or an idea. And when you approach it from that perspective, everybody is a dancer. Everyone dances because that's our first language. Nonverbal communication, dance, expressing rhythm, whether it's comfort, discomfort, pain, anger, sadness, jealousy, rage, like hunger, thirst. All these things that we need when we're first thrust into the world. This is how we express ourselves. It's the dance of communication. And so that's been my sweet spot. And I think that's what resonates so deeply in those posts is I'm not looking at it from dance as performance or entertainment. I'm really looking at it as this human right, this human need to express ourselves.
Hi, everybody. And here we are with our beautiful Erica Hornthal. Yes, I said it right. Did I say it right?
Yep, you're good.
Erica Hornthal, which is, I've been following you, Erica, which also known as the therapist who moves you, and I've been following you as Dance Body Mind for a long time. And Erica is a certified dance movement therapist and also a licensed clinical professional counselor and the author of a book that I recommend anybody to wear, Body Aware. It's just practical exercises and movement to really help you through the mental health therapy and journey, to really work together the body and the mind. And the quotes that got me following Erica and looking at quotes every single day, it's you can't hate your body into loving it. There's no we have this approach with our body where we're gonna love it if we change it, we're gonna love it if this changes, we're gonna love it if. And like another beautiful quote of Erica was, we need to stop seeing the body as the problem. Instead, it's the solution, right? So, Erica, we just done a beautiful live on Instagram, and you inspire me already as a teacher how to really incorporate. Because I was saying to Erica before, as a dance teacher and as a spiritual coach as well, and understanding the power of this marvelous form of healing, which is natural. I always say to my student, nobody invented dance. There's no dance inventor, right? It's written in our bones. So how nowadays in society, we kind of put it on the side. And instead of, like Erica does in a therapy practice, use movement and dance as an incredible form of healing on a therapeutical point of view as well. And as a teacher, incorporating bringing my student, rather than just learning a choreography, which we will, but as soon as they enter a room, let them connect with themselves. What you were saying before, I don't know if you remember what you were saying before Instagram, how important it is for them when they come to dance classes to remember that they're doing it for themselves, not to look good or not for the outside, but using dancing as a gift that you give to yourself for self-expression, right?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for doing this. I'm very, very excited. I have so much to ask you. It's a real honor to share your knowledge with me and everybody else, really. And
it's a pleasure to be here.
Been following you for a while now, and that quote that you wrote, you can't hate your body into loving it, and all your beautiful, just the way you even articulate, the way you communicate, every single post you do, I think it's a loving message to our body. And so I thank you for that, because we need to hear it. We need to hear it. more and
Well,
more.
thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, sometimes it's just me that needs to hear it. So I'm glad that it resonates for other people.
I come from an entertainment background. So
Mhm.
I come where dance is an entertainment. And so it's all about the, funny enough, even if it's all about the body, it's really you're staying in your mind because it's all about how the body looks, how the body moves.
Yeah.
And again, in the entertainment world, dance is in the mind. It's not about how you feel, but it's about how you look. How does that step look? So for years and years and years, this is where I was living into, where dancing was something to entertain, was something to look at. And then through actually the art of, I've done any kind of dance, but with belly dancing, something has shifted. And when I started teaching it, that's when the shift was happening. Like women were literally changing the way they talked or the way they enter a room. And I thought I was just teaching them steps, right? And they thought they were just, you don't, it's not even necessarily about getting fit, but you know how to move your body in a different way. So again, I thought it was all about the changing the body or changing the way you carry it. And little did I know when I started studying a bit more about the chakras and then life coaching, that actually we were shifting from dancing as something to look at, and something that comes, how do I look and how is this step looking, into the most transformative healing that could happen, into feeling good. Like that shift from how do I look into, my God, when my body does that, it just feels good, which is something that we're not connected with. And then when I started getting into the chakra part, I realized that actually belly dancing was working on our energy forces involuntarily, like we didn't even know. But you're actually releasing so much that you don't know. So that's when my obsession started with, how can something that is so powerful, that is written in our bones, and also I believe in the power of music because I am a musician, how can something so powerful be forgotten in this society and only be considered as an entertainment or something to get fit? So that's where you come with your knowledge and your expertise. And I'm like, discovering people like you that can do so much to people like us and really give dance a movement, not just dancing as choreography, but like you say, and I've got so many of your posts here, like you said, the body's not the problem, it's actually the solution. So my question now comes to you, like, first of all, how your journey started.
As I became a professional therapist, and working in the field, it just became more and more apparent that dance has so much stigma, and just calling myself a dance therapist, people would shy away. Or, I call my business Chicago Dance Therapy. People would be like, dance isn't for me. And, I'm stubborn in many ways. I want to keep educating and kind of breaking down those barriers. But that's really where it created this opportunity for me to really shift to movement, that we're dance movement therapists. And I much more align, I think, with that movement piece. But I love dance. And so I love to use both words in my title. But, as I was writing my book, it allowed me to redefine movement. And movement, even if you Google it, movement is just a shift in posture or perspective. It doesn't have to be exercise. It doesn't have to be skillful or talented. It is just, it's the heart beating. It's the, as We Are the Storm said, it's our lungs filling. It's the cells dividing in our body. That's happening for everybody in their own way, until we're no longer here in this physical. Not that long ago, it allowed me to redefine dance. I was like, if this skill set, this talent, this entertainment piece isn't fitting for everybody, how can I break down the definition of dance? And actually, it was a Britannica.com definition. I was shocked that dance is just rhythmic movement of the body that expresses a thought or an idea. And when you approach it from that perspective, everybody is a dancer. Everyone dances because that's our first language. Nonverbal communication, dance, expressing rhythm, whether it's comfort, discomfort, pain, anger, sadness, jealousy, rage, like hunger, thirst. I mean, all these things that we need when we're first thrust into the world. This is how we express ourselves. It's the dance of communication. And so that's been my sweet spot. And I think that's what resonates so deeply in those posts is I'm not looking at it from dance as performance or entertainment. I'm really looking at it as this human right, this human need to express ourselves.
Oh my God, you've touched so many incredible subjects. And the number one is definitely the stigma around the world dance.
Yeah.
So my question is, what do you think caused that stigma? Do you think is, and that's a bit of a provocative question, but do you think is how society, are we wired to really be disconnected with our body, really, especially in women, that when I hear it all the time. I've done any kind of dance and I teach any kind of dance, but my main passion is with Oriental dancing because of the wonderful circular movement. It's just, and the breathing, the sacral chakra that you work with. And I hear it all the time. Women, every time I say I'm a belly dance teacher, you can see that sparkle in women's eyes, like, oh my God, I so want to do it. But that's that little kind of secret, like, but is it right? But I want to do it. So I always find it in women, like this sense of desire to finally regain that body, because the reason why we're so insecure, I believe, is because we think we're never enough. You know, no matter how the body is, we're so disconnected with it. We don't even know how to move it, although we want to move it. And sense of shame, of guiltness, of the dance instead should be in our bones, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think is that coming from?
I mean, I'm thinking a lot of things right now. You touched on so many things. I'm like, which direction do I go? But I can try to touch on, I think, as many as possible. But I think first and foremost, yes, it is this disconnect. It's like once we have the ability to access higher executive functioning, that prefrontal cortex takes over. You know, we reason, we logic everything. There's a couple things that happen. One, it's like, oh, well, dance is a waste of time. What, like, there's more important things to be doing, right? Like that, you need to be doing your homework. You need to be, you know, prepping for that test. You need to be, you know, doing your chores around the house. It's like dance becomes secondary. We're not seeing it as communication. We're seeing it as hobby, fluff, you know, something you do in your free time. There's that shift. It's like the minute that we're able to communicate what we need verbally, we no longer need to rely on the nonverbal communication, which isn't true for everybody. But I'm just talking about kind of this mainstream, you know, neurotypical development, right?
Yeah.
Which again is even more reason why we need to be focusing on the body, because there's a growing pool of individuals who are neurodivergent, right? And aren't even diagnosed, right? Like there's just this diversity in cognition, and there's diversity in movement. So with that being said, you know, we decentralize or remove the focus from this nonverbal piece. You know, you hit the nail on the head. I think it's much more prevalent in girls and women, although it happens to everybody. We're so quick to critique and judge a woman's body, a girl's body, you know, instead of you're so strong, it's you're so pretty, you know, or oh, your body's so lean, or you're so, you know, athletic. We're not focusing on what the body feels. How do you feel in your body? What are you feeling? You know, my daughter, from a young age, you know, I really tried to add that piece of like, I see you're sad. How does that feel? You know, what do you feel when you're sad? Instead of just talking it through, you know, just sitting in it. Just how does your body feel when you're sad? How do you know when you're happy? These kinds of things. So we really focus more on that aesthetic piece or the cognitive piece. And then we're very quick to judge what dance should look like, right? We're like, oh, I don't dance, but that's not it either. You really shouldn't be doing that. Or like, we laugh, you know, we point fingers. You know, I love that dance is on TV a lot now, but it's a very specific kind of dance, you know, very intense, very pushing beyond our limits. And while it can be beautiful to watch, it sometimes sends the wrong message that if you can't do those things, then you cannot consider yourself a dancer. And I don't think that, to me, that's farther from the truth, right? As far from the truth as possible. So this is probably a post from a while ago, but I was at a recovery conference, facilitating a workshop, co-facilitating a workshop. And it just really dawned on me that I said, to dance is an act of courage. You know, it really takes an act of bravery. One, when everything you've experienced in your body suggests shame and brokenness and hurt and pain and damage and not enoughness, etc. But two, to dance, again, is this primitive inherent expression of the self. So if you are afraid to be yourself, or someone has taught you that yourself is not enough, to dance is going to be the furthest thing possible. We cannot dance unless someone shows us what to do, how to do it. You know, dresses us up, puts on a mask, right? It's like, I don't know who I am. And if I don't know who I am, then how can I dance? You know, and so I think we put on these personas, right? I'm the performer, I'm the professional, I'm the this, I'm the that, instead of coming back to moving from within, right? How does it feel to move in my body and then be an expression of that? And that's really difficult in the world of professional dance too, because we don't care how it feels. We care how it looks, you know? And so if you can't do this move, I'll find someone else who can, right? And, you know, and we'll audition and someone else will get the part. So dance doesn't necessarily prioritize that, but, you know, to express yourself is no easy feat. We're in a world now where we're encouraging people to authentically express themselves. Why aren't we teaching that through the body? Why aren't we embracing how the body feels when we're doing that? Because again, to dance is a primitive expression of the self. And so to express ourselves fully is, I think, an act of courage. So to dance is an act of courage, and it takes a lot of bravery to put yourself out there and move your authentic way when other people may not understand it.
Oh, wow. I just want to have a moment of silence, because when you said, ooh, dance is an act of courage, because when you dance, you're truly yourself, and most of us don't know who we are. So they need to tell us what to do. And this is so powerful. This is so powerful. Thank you. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, I just, not to talk over the silence, but I also want to say, like, I experienced that too. You know, sometimes I, you know, say these things and I never want it to be like, oh, you know, oh, this enlightened, like, oh, I always move my authentic self. And I hide too. You know, I escape in dance in certain ways. When I go dance, I just want someone to tell me what to do. I don't do authentic movement as a practice. It's not how I connect to dance that feels expressive for me. But in therapy, to me, that's different. Like, how I'm moving my body, how I'm expressing my body when I'm experiencing a life challenge, an emotional, emotional challenge, right? Like, for me, emotional well-being is tied so inherently to how I move and how I dance. But that there's also that part of me that just loves to dance for fun and loves to escape in dance. So it's a balance, you know, and I recognize that we can dance in different ways at different times. I hope that makes sense, right? That dance doesn't always have to be, oh my gosh, I'm so in tune and aware of my body, and this is me expressing myself. We can find a balance between both, right? That dance for me can be that, and it can still be, I'm going to go dance with my friends on a Saturday night. I'm going to go take a cardio class and, you know, just lose myself in the movement. And that through that, I can learn to express myself authentically too.
Do you know, you helped me so much. What you just said, you helped me so much as a dance teacher, because this is when I was finding the struggle, like understanding the power of dance, intuitive dancing as well, at the same time teaching a choreography. So I've always struggled with the two worlds, because it's always, so this is, and you giving me now tips how to really keep doing what I was doing, because lately this is what I kept doing. I kept starting class with, how is your body feeling today? Let's connect. Let's embody ourselves. So I started class with, what part of your body is disconnected? How you feeling? What emotion is going through? And just honor it and just embrace and stay there. And then we do like intuitive movement, so that they can actually free their body, like working on the chakras. And then but and then I will teach new movement. So the mind and the body work together. So the brain knows what isolation you're working, and then you learn the choreography. But you're really helping me now putting them together, because at the same time, when I'm teaching new choreographies or new movement, it's like they're learning a new language. It's like, first find yourself, find who you are, how's your body feeling, and then let's language. So
and we override that so much, you know. I mean, I'm thinking, as you were speaking, I'm thinking, like, typically in a dance class, we're not interested in how the person feels. Again, we're interested in how it looks. So we are contorting our own boundaries, right? Sacrificing our own sense of self to reach an ideal, you know, to meet someone else's expectations. And that translates out of the dance studio too, you know. So how many times am I literally compromising my body, which ultimately compromises my mind? You know, I'm saying no when I really mean yes, or I'm saying yes when I really mean no. So I get that that can't always happen in a professional setting. So I want to be realistic with the fact that some people might be watching this and being like, great idea. I can't do that to put bread on the table, you know, and that's unfortunate. I know we're pushing the envelope. Organizations like Mind the Gap are creating more space for those dialogues within dance.
Yes.
But for those of us who are we're going into a class, yoga, Pilates, dance, Bollywood, Oriental dance, hip hop, you know, belly dance, pole dance, like, if you are doing it for yourself, then remember that yourself needs to be present. And that if at any time you are compromising yourself, then you're not really, you're forgetting why you're there, if that makes sense, right? Like, yes, there's an instructor. Yes, there are other people, but you're not dancing for other people. You came to this class for you, and that you can listen to that voice, right? You can pause, you can take a break, you can go to the bathroom, you can stand, you know, while everybody else is moving. If you need a moment of stillness, you can do that, right? I mean, this isn't a performance. This isn't, you're not being paid for this. You know, it's okay. Like, we have to start giving ourselves permission to move our body in the way it needs, even when we are in a certain environment that tells us we should keep going. You know, everybody else is dancing. You should be dancing too. I was talking to a client the other day who wasn't dancing per se, but reminded herself and me that she was working. She's a nanny, and she just, you know, knew everybody was safe, and just kind of got off the phone and said, you know what, stay right here. I just need a minute. And she went off and kind of just sat in the corner where she could still see the kids that she was taking care of, and just sat in the corner, kind of gave herself a hug, you know, rocked a little bit, some silence. And it wasn't like, what are people going to think? You know, and if they think something, great. But in the moment, it was like, this is what I need. My body needs stillness. I need to embrace myself. I need to calm my body down. And when I'm ready in a minute or two, and then I can go about my day. You know, we don't do that because we're so afraid of what other people are going to think. It's really difficult, but that is something that we need to challenge.
Yeah, I mean, you literally are giving me even more tools to. I think as dance teachers should do more of this. It's it obviously depends on what kind of space you want to hold for our students, but because more and more the power of dance and music as well. Don't you think the power of music as well? It's so connected with the dancing, and I think it's our job as, you know, dance teachers, or to hold a space where, like you say, people, you're paying a class to not just do something someone else. You're doing it for yourself. So the first thing is for us teachers to remind them, how you feeling today? Go back to you. Go into you. Go into the body. You know, it's.
And I think that's why a lot of these practices are at least in the United States, like, there's something called the class. There's Kinergy, which is created, or I think kind of founded by Julianne Hough. There are these, like, intuitive dance cardio exercise classes that are popping up across the United States, and probably on other places as well. But you know, it's not therapy; it's therapeutic. But I think that's why, as the world burns, literally and figuratively, it's like we desperately need to come back to creative forms of expression, because words alone, I have no words for what's going on in the world today, but my body can express it. My body can move through it and create a sense of safety within myself when I can't guarantee safety in the world.
Through back, we are our own safety. We need to go back to us, to the truth which is inside of us, isn't it? And again, going back to the body.
Yeah, like the quote that you said, right, when you were like, oh, we see the body as the problem, but it's actually the solution. Like, that's why it's the solution, because we can find our own stability.
There is another quote that you I've got so many of your quotes, but obviously we're running out of time, so I'm just going to read this one.
Yeah, we can always do this again too.
Yeah. Oh, please.
A second installment. Right? Yeah.
So much today, and I'm going to share with all my students and teachers, because we work certifying teachers as well. So this needs to be heard, and coming from you is empowering everything onto another level. So, and this is actually, this quote, I read it because it's helping me so much with my son. Like, I'm raising, I don't like to raise a child with fearful that I say no and he listen. I don't like my son to just listen just because he's scared. I like to always elaborate and you know, try to. And when you wrote this, I was like, oh my God, when you were yelled at as a child and you didn't yell back, you didn't learn respect, you learned to be full of fear. This fear stored as trauma in the body. Learning to feel and release this trauma is healing. And I mean, I could mention so many of your quotes, but this is another one where we're going back to the body is not the problem. Actually, not only is not the problem, and not only is the solution, it's the one that store all the problem, and eventually we'll find a solution. So yeah, so this is another one, and yeah, I don't know if you wanted to say anything in regards to that.
Yeah, I think you know, it's for me, it's always about creating that awareness of like, how is the body wrapped up in the narrative? You know, that when we're talking about, oh, I said something and I got yelled at, it's all words, but what's happening to the body as we're being silenced or yelled at or dismissed, ignored, etc., how does that show up? And so I think I know we override that, you know, and then the fear, the anxiety, the lack of safety, you know, it all gets embodied. And we might not realize this as children, right, if we don't have someone that's supporting us in that, but we have to find a way to release that. We have to find a way to validate and just say, oh, that pit in my stomach, like that's the fear I've been holding on to. So how do I move that? How do I address that? Well, just acknowledge it, you know, and then see what happens when we just say, hey, like, how different is it when someone says, hey, I see you, you know, I see you in pain. Sometimes that alone lightens the load just a little bit. It doesn't take away the pain, but rather than someone saying, let me take it away for you, or what can I do? Just, I see you. I see the pain, right? Same thing. We're doing it for ourselves. We're like, I feel your pain. I feel that tension. I feel that anxiety. Sometimes that is enough to lessen it so that we can do something with it. And then it's, you know, quite literally, you know, moving the center of the body, or maybe it's putting our hand there, taking some deep breaths, feeding it, you know, food or just, you know, spiritual, right? Like thirst, hunger type stuff. So, it's creating this opportunity to see like the movement metaphors, you know, and how emotions quite literally are embodied. You know, we're talking a lot about trauma right now, which is great. I'm glad that is shifting, you know, that narrative, but I want to see it a step further. Like, I want people to understand that the body is in everything. Movement is in everything. And so to support our mental health, if we don't have the words, we can't find them, we can't access them, we can't express them, go to the source, which is the body. Go to the source, feel where that is coming from, move it in some way, relate to it, acknowledge it, validate it. You will see a difference ultimately.
It's funny, that's at the beginning of this healing that I started doing with my coach. And I was, you know, kept on saying that the body's the answer, and I put on so much weight at one point, and I kept saying, like, I'm not gonna fight it with trying to lose weight. I'm going to stay here and dance it out and understand what is going on. And
Mhm.
my coach, and that's why sometimes people tell me I'm out of my mind, and my coach said to them, yes, tell them you are finally out of your mind. You are into your body. And I love that. And I was like,
you're right, because I'm in my body.
how crazy is that? It's like, you tell them you are out of your mind. You're finally in your body. Because you try to lose weight, you try to look fit, you try to do this, and it's always coming from the mind. When the body you put on weight is telling you something, it's protecting you. And I had to understand that. I had to understand it was protecting me from something. And listen. And he goes, yeah, tell them you are out of your mind.
I love that. So, this just makes me think of something that happened recently to me. I been dealing with some like QL, SI joint, kind of like lower back hip pain issues. And it's interesting to hear you say this, because coming at it from the mind, I was doing all the things. I was rolling, I was massaging, to the point where I think I actually impinged the nerve more. And then I don't want to say I gave myself, but like I ended up having this really bad case of sciatica, which is much better now, but still, I'm still healing from. And the interesting thing is, when I just gave myself the space and time to just be, I would go upstairs, I would lay on the carpet of my bedroom, and I didn't know what to do. My body, like, I would just start rolling side to side. I would stretch in ways that, like, I wasn't controlling from my mind. I didn't really, I just was doing intuitively what needed to be done. And I was like, I don't know if I'm helping or hurting, but I would find myself in these motions of rhythm or stretches that didn't come from, hey, do this, hey, read this, try this. It was just, what do I need? And I would feel relief. And then, of course, my mind would, hey, you should go do this again. But that, like, listening to my body is ultimately what allowed that part to start healing, instead of, coming from the mind of like, well, you should do this. Well, you should try that. Oh, this is what's needed. It's like, I get that, and even going to physical therapy for it was so interesting, because the exercises and things that they were suggesting were the movements that I was intuitively doing. It was just more structured, right? They were like, this is where it's coming from. We're going to rebuild some stability, along with massage and some body work, which has been so helpful. My body was in freeze. Like, something was damaged, and everything was just in protective mode. And it took a while for things to unthaw. But I wanted to say that because it deeply resonates with what you're talking about, where it's like the mind does want to control everything, because it's logical, it's reasonable, and it's like, hey, this is what we've read. Hey, this is what people are telling you. This is what's in the media. Right. And when I felt so depleted, and actually in a sense, like, out of my mind, because I was like crazy in pain, that's when my body was like, are you ready to listen? Because this is what I need. I was like, okay, I'm listening.
That's what it's sometimes is the pain, the body weight, the stiffness, the sickness, the illness, is the body screaming, isn't it? It's a scream somewhere there.
Yeah, and I thought I was doing, quote, everything right, like, oh, I'm rolling on the ball, I'm using the foam roller, I've got my Theragun, but so much of that are things that were created to alleviate the problems that we've that we've built into our society. So I'm like, wait a minute, practice what you preach. Like, just go back to your body, and it's not, you don't have to do anything. It's like, just let it do its thing. Just listen. And then I would just like open my eyes, and I'm like, okay, I'm rolling. Oh, this feels good. Okay, and I would lean once. Oh no, that doesn't feel good. Oh, okay, that's better. So, thanks for like modern science, though, right? Physical therapy and body work, and things that are obviously deep rooted in like Eastern practices. But we want a holistic approach. We're not looking to drop into the body and forget mind. We want to connect them. We just want to remember that there is a relationship there, and spirit, that this is the holistic approach to mental health, and that it's important in dance too. I've found that the more connected I am to my body, that passion, that meaning, that purpose, spirit, whatever you want to call it, and I bring the mind in a healthy way, I'm a better dancer. You know, I'm not a professional dancer, but I am a much better dancer now than I ever was in a studio.
Wow, I could stay for other hours to ask you questions, but
Yeah.
that's wonderful. So I would recommend everybody to read Body Aware. There will be a link in here somewhere, and you also have this manual that I saw the other day, right? The more practical.
Yeah.
I think it's
See,
behind
I'm
you.
in my office.
I need to get this one.
Okay, so this is Body Aware.
Yeah,
but
Body Aware, which I read.
Body Aware.
So my phone.
And then, in a couple of weeks, I have the movement therapy deck is coming out.
Ah, perfect. That's the one.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I won't go into too much detail, but this specifically, like, this is for like the non-mover. This is actually more a resource for nervous system regulation and trauma processing, like for the person who is still so in it and still, whether it's fresh or whether it was like 15 years ago.
Okay.
This is for the stuck body, like the body that is carrying emotions but can't, a mind that can't verbalize it. So it's just, it's 52 movement practices that I like, my favorite ones, basically ones that I do with my clients, just broken down. There's some sensory, there's some breath work, there's
I love that
floor work, which is just like basically.
There was one you did on Instagram. You were tapping your lip. Were you? Like,
yeah. And then there's like dance and movement ones. But yes, that's a sensory one. So we have nerve endings in our lips and the ends of our ears, among other places, that connect to the vagus nerve, which is this large nerve in the body that is directly connected to our parasympathetic nervous system. Long story short, allows us to rest and digest. So yeah, you can like press into your lips if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed. You can massage the ends of your ears, cartilage, this like hole right above the indentation, right above the hole of your ear. Wow. Simple things like that, that if people, especially if you are afraid of judgment or what people will think, how often do we do stuff like that? We're like, interesting.
I love that.
Nobody has to know what you're doing. We're not talking about stopping in the middle of the day and just dancing in the street. I mean, you could do that too. But anyway, so yeah, that comes out in March. And it's
so
available.
All these practical tips. I imagine they're like, dark. So they're all cards, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a little booklet of just like why, how, what are we doing? But then, it's just these like beautiful, like cards. And it's
on Amazon?
Wherever books are sold. So I realize overseas changes a little bit, but I know London, not London, UK, like specifically Penguin Random House UK is selling it, Amazon, and hopefully anybody listening, if wherever you are in your region, you should be able to access it.
Love it. Thank you so much, Erica. Let's
plugging it.
So, sorry, say that again.
I'm going to have to practice plugging these things. So thank you for, encouraging me.
What I say, what you do, that book, Life Changer, what you do, all this chat I'm doing with women that truly profoundly touch me through these years, and to really encourage us to keep doing the work and to keep on doing what you're doing, because it's so empowering to see how the movement is. And really my mission is to get rid of this the stigma around the dance, because something so beautiful, something so powerful, something that everybody wants to do cannot just be considered, dance, you're going to dance class. I think if we all step into it and have the courage to really talk about how, from a medical perspective, from a therapeutical perspective, from a holistic, a spiritual, it's written in our bones. We're doing when we were kids. Why, when we were adults, we're so ashamed of, I mean,
it's a whole other conversation, but I think that, the medical profession needs to be quite literally putting this at the top of their prescriptions, right? Like, whether it's preventative, proactive, interventional, like, okay, here's your prescription for your medication, and create art. You need to be moving, you need to be dancing, you need to be singing, you need to be playing music. Like, find a way to tap into your creativity. It's free. It's free. Like, I mean, it can cost money, don't get me wrong, but like whether you're watching it, engaging in it, creating it, like why are we not prescribing these things? It's natural. So like, you know, functional medicine I think is more in line with that, but like we just need to be prescribing these things. Like just remind people like, you know, are you creating? Are you creating something? Oh, I don't have time for that. Well, make time. Your body will thank you.
This is music ear to my ears. Beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful. I'm gonna leave it like that because it doesn't get better than this. Okay, take your medication, but are you creating? Are you expressing yourself? Are you being you?
Have you seen that Instagram meme or like video that's going around, where maybe it's TikTok, where it's like recording where people are like, you know, I'm not feeling well. And they're like, well, have you taken a walk? No. Have you gone outside? No. Have you, like, all these things that people are like, well, maybe that's why you're not feeling well.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's entertainment, but it's true. You know, it's like, have you eaten? No. Have you talked to so and so? No. Have you gotten out of the house? No. Like, oh, did you think you were supposed to be feeling well?
So true. That's so true. And also, I always say, why do we give us a doctor if we break our knee and we break our arm? But if we have, you know, mental health issues, we don't. We don't have a
right. I can handle this. I can, you know, I'll figure it out. It's such a there's such a stigma because we don't want to be seen as crazy or out of our mind. So that goes back to what you said, where you're like, I am out of my mind. I dropped into my body.
I finally dropped into my body. I love this. This is gonna be the quote.
Yeah, we'll create a post together around that. Yes. That'd be fun.
Let's do it. Okay.
All right.
Erica,
thank you so much for your time. This was amazing.
Thank you. I was honored, and I would love to do more. And let us know when the deck is out, so I can promote it and get mine. And I'll see you very soon, Erica.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
And you. Ciao.